Useless Monster by Mute Crows. Chapter 14, or Chapter 13. Izashi leaned back in his seat, popping a few gummies into his mouth, and made eye contact with Nomori behind the back of a grumbling Shota. She gave a half shrug as she turned her seat to face their mutual grumpy friend. "What's on the mind, Shota?" He tossed a gummy at him and watched it rebound straight to the floor.
"Something."
"Wow, that clears up so much."
Nomori leaned on the arm of her chair, resting her chin on a fist.
"Wanna be more specific? It's only Friday, like what could have happened in the first 5 days of the year?"
He let out the smallest of sighs before looking over the computers at who all was around.
"Things are off. Classes are normal, but it feels like it's too normal, even in the wake of the media break-in. Something that should not have been possible by UA expectations."
He folded his arms as he sat back in his seat. Izashi felt there was more, though. "So, you're more prickly than usual because things are cold? Don't get me wrong, Shota, I agree that the newscasters getting on campus was completely unexpected and shouldn't have happened, even by journalism standards, but there's gotta be more," he prompted. He huffed in annoyance.
There is something about Midoriya that's not right. That shouldn't be present in a child this age going into heroics.
"What? That conspiracy you two have about him being connected with that creature you two ran into years ago?"
Nomori gestured with a hand out towards Izashi. He tossed her a gummy. "Oh yeah, how's that search of yours going? You seem here the most out of us three, and also pointed out the hero costume, my man."
"It's not going, and also isn't what I'm talking about, Hizashi."
He levels him a look before picking his phone up off the desk and spinning it in his hand.
He's afraid.
"Well, you do have quite the reputation in the student body, Shota."
Nomori shrugged with one arm.
"Wouldn't surprise me if it preceded you."
Not of me, of everything. The halls, the classes, the interactions that those classes require, noises too loud, and a number of his classmates scare him, while all of them make him jittery. Especially Bakugo Katsuki. I'm becoming concerned.
Nomori and Hizashi made eye contact, the silent exchange of, "Oh, so he's invested already," going unnoticed.
"He eats lunch with all mates sometimes,"
Nomori says in consideration.
"Why not ask him about the kid?"
Shota looked at her with barely a distasteful phone stopping in his hand.
I would rather avoid that if at all possible. He's hardly discreet, too loud even when trying to be quiet.
"Hey!" He looked at his friend in mock offense. "You say that about me sometimes, but still talk to me."
Hizashi, I swear I'm gonna...
Okay, got the time, got it. Continue. He held his hands up in a placating manner.
Look, I don't sit around and think about unnecessary things. It's a waste of time. It's just that this kid has learned habits that are a little too familiar for the wrong reasons. I've seen them before in a number of underground cases, and I don't want to see it in my own students.
He resumed spinning the phone, now clearly using it as a way to fidget while thinking. "The kid got really jittery and looked almost sick yesterday. We finished the English lesson early, so I let them have a little free time in the room, encourage connecting with classmates and stuff, you know? The topic somehow got to how Bakugo was the kid that got caught up in that old slime villain business, and I want to say the words were about how the monster fought the slime villain for the right to ruin or something. They were just talking about how its screaming on the video was manic or whatever. Kids talking things up, the usual. I don't know if he changed the subject because of his connection with the creature, or if it just made him uncomfortable, though." Itachi put the empty bag of gummies on his desk. Shota keeps his gaze steady on his phone.
I take it Bakugo was getting angry during all this. Probably using his quirk just for the sounds.
He looked at Hizashi, who just nodded.
Of course.
The door to the lounge opened, and all three of them looked over to see Blood King closing the door behind himself as he left the room.
Midoriya thinks he has his flinches and reactions to Bakugo hidden, but I have worked too long with running on my new cues to tell if someone is going to use a quirk or not. Even with just a raised voice, his whole frame of existence seemed to shift into preparation to react to something. I can practically hear the moment his internal warning bells fire off.
Namori sighs sadly. It's always so sad to see youth shot down so young. She threads some of her hair through her fingers.
His body works on muscle memory rooted entirely around his fear response. Someone with phobias that strong wouldn't care for the hero course at UA of all places, so that means it is based on a history that none of us know and isn't in his school records.
Shota says more to himself than the rest of them. He's homeless, right? Maybe the streets are just really rough that young, especially since he probably rarely sees his mother if he could afford tuition for here. The money has to come from somewhere. Hizashi offered. He wasn't confident in his explanation in the least, but all options have been looked at.
Hizashi, come on. We all know from both experience and training exercises how to spot the signs of abuse and trauma. The kid hardly even holds a presence and tries to make as minimal impact when and where he can. The only times I have ever seen him even remotely open up was when I happened to see him around All Might, who, by the way, is apparently on first-name basis with him, since he called him Izuku in what I think was supposed to be a closed room.
They are clearly at least on name basis, or at least the first name is only on one side, since he directly name-dropped Yagi-san the first day of heroics training. Something to keep in mind as we continue your concerns you have.
Namori said over him. Shota's flat look at the interruption and air quotes had Hizashi muffling laughter behind a fist, which only got the look redirected to him.
That just makes all of this even more bold. At this point, I may as well just talk to Midoriya directly about all this, since he has practically been flaunting his connections to those who are looking. If he stays in the course after I do, I'm going to have to put in multiple lessons on stealth in relation to information transfer and collection. Also, he didn't even react to his quirk being erased on the first day, which means he's had it happen before. Another point to my idea of him actually being that creature. Somehow. I don't know how, because it's not a quirk, or mine would have worked on it. I don't know how to explain what he can do.
I still think it's like a sibling or family member or something, Hizashi said.
That doesn't explain.
Pardon me, heroes, a higher-pitched voice interjected. They all immediately sat up straighter and looked down towards the voice. Hizashi watched as a folder is held out to Shota with a sticky note on the cover signed by 13. Even their small self-doodle was there.
Thank you, Principal Nezu.
Shota bowed slightly as he took the folder. 13 said they wanted to share the various routes for the field trip to take throughout USJ. I thought it would be best for me to expedite the delivery by bringing it myself. Nezu clapped his paws together and grinned.
I'm grateful you did. This will make planning much faster.
I'm excited to see how these new students fare in the rescue settings of USJ. Don't let me know in your lesson reports how you managed to wrangle them all in the presence of All Might. I know how much you look forward to that one, Eraser. The glint in the principal's eyes was beyond mischievous, and Hizashi looked at Namori, who happened to catch his gaze at the same moment. They both could tell this was a test on Shota's willingness to cooperate with All Might as much as it was a training exercise for the students.
Of course, sir.
Nezu bid them farewell and hurried off with a hum that had Hizashi vaguely on edge. Those were plotting hums. Hums that meant that he had the course set up in a way that would be educational for both student and teacher. He and Namori both looked at Shota, who was leafing through the folder. She lets out a bark of laughter before standing up.
Good luck, Eraserhead. Looks like the principal gave you a circus to run with all of that fiery and explosive youthful energy that will just become that much hotter with All Might there to egg them on.
She waved bye to them just as the lunch bell rang, walking toward the fridge.
She's right, isn't she, Hizashi?
Shota sank into his seat with a groan. He laughed and patted the arm closest to him. Don't worry, I'll make sure Marble has food after the funeral. The groan dragged out even longer.